Jarvis, initiate YouTube video protocol. For the past 10 months, I have been delving deep into the literature on the subconscious mind, so much that I think I might have accidentally become an expert on it. And the stuff I found is so life-changing, in fact, that frankly I think it should be a crime that it's not common knowledge. I've gone from the New Thought literature of Neville Goddard and Joseph Murphy to the early psychoanalysts and even modern psychiatric studies. At last, I have found the idea that I've been looking for so long. It's called dream incubation. What is dream incubation, you may ask? Essentially, if you prompt your subconscious mind with a problem or a request before you fall asleep, your subconscious mind will work tirelessly to engineer a solution while you're sleeping through a dream. Now, I've realized that I've been doing this unintentionally for years as I've been practicing and mastering lucid dreaming. Every once in a while, I would have a dream about a major decision I was going to make, and it would sort of calculate a future possibility of the consequences of that action, and turns out, all of them turned out to be accurate dreams. But since I've learned the methods and the science behind it, I've basically become a dream wizard at this point. And I've learned more about myself in the past 2 weeks than I think I have in the past 5 years. It's crazy. With a tool like this at my disposal, I feel like my life is pointed in just a much clearer direction now. And every time I have a problem, I can just, go to sleep and be like, hey, solve this for me, please. And every morning I wake up with either a solution or a place to start looking for a solution. It's bonkers how effective this stuff is. So enough with the hype. I'm going to show you how to do it. This is my dream journal. I've got a format that I've been using for the past few weeks, and it essentially boils down to engineering a question. So usually I take a whole page just to brainstorm ideas of the kind of question or request that I want resolved. Now, that request or question should be something that's personally relevant, preferably something that has some sort of emotional attachment to you. But beyond that, you can get pretty wild with the possibilities. These questions can range from finding success and love and the direction for your life to more mundane personal problems or personal issues that you want to sort of overcome, like overcoming limiting beliefs or negative ideas about yourself. If you can imagine it, your dreams can provide you answers. And even if you have unresolved emotions or personal trauma, your dreams can show you how to resolve them. Now, granted, the bigger the request, the more dreams it might take to actually engineer a coherent solution, but every dream is pretty important. Something that I found after learning a lot about my own personal dream symbols and emotional states in my dreams that I've been having is it feels like each one is kind of inching me closer. Even the dreams that I feel like aren't super relevant actually ended up having a bit of a role to play in helping me generate a solution to the problem that I'm looking for. So once you've narrowed it down to like a singular question or request that feels good to ask, something that you actually are genuinely interested in, I have a little format that I like to use. So at the top, I put the date, pretty obvious. And then I put in my request here, followed by just a big white space for entering dreams. At the bottom, there is kind of an interpretation/conclusion bit. It's a very simple format, pretty easy to understand and replicate. Takes no time to do it. But that's just what works for me. If you want to do it a slightly different way, I still strongly recommend you have a dream journal. That's pretty much absolutely necessary. Now, if your question is pretty clear, chances are you're going to get a very clear dream out of it that shows you what to do. But for me, some of my requests end up kind of open-ended, so I have to do a lot of dream interpretation and analyzing my feelings in the dream to sort of get a better idea of what it is I'm looking for. And especially recently, since I'm remembering about 4 to 5 dreams every single night, the common thread between those dreams is usually kind of a good indicator of the solution or where I should start looking. Now, a personal example of that for me was one of the questions, the request that I used is, what can I do to welcome more love into my life? And I had a bunch of kind of really disparate dreams, but the common thread between all of them was a lot of travel and a lot of flight. And it was kind of really an unexpected solution, but it actually really helped me narrow down what it is I need to do. Now, of course, once I asked that question, I had, how do I start traveling? And essentially it opened up a whole new realm of questions and possibilities, which felt like I was moving forward, and that's really an excellent experience. I went from being in a place where I'm stuck, where I feel like I'm never going to solve this problem, to realizing, wait a second, there actually is stuff that I can do, and it's just stuff that I haven't really considered, but my subconscious mind, in its infinite wisdom, has been able to sort of come up with something that is a little unconventional that actually will lead me to what it is I'm looking for. And once you've got your dream journal page ready and you're good to go for the night, you want to fall asleep with the question on your mind. Now, you can repeat it kind of as an affirmation. You can kind of visualize like an image that's associated with your request. That usually is pretty effective. But really all you have to do, you don't have to strain, you just need to make sure it's dominating the vast majority of your thoughts as you fall asleep. Now, once you fall asleep, that's when the dreaming happens. But if you wake up at all, like at any point in the night or in the morning, you don't want to move at all. You want to stay completely still and try to kind of reconstruct the dream in your head and maybe work backwards. You want to pay very close attention to the feelings that are associated with the dream, more so than the symbols. The symbols we'll get to later. But any weird details that really stick out to you should be recorded because, again, usually the dream will communicate in metaphors or abstract kind of ideas. Now you're still in bed, like you're reconstructing the dream in your head, your eyes are still closed, and you're kind of re-experiencing parts of it. Once you've got like a concrete idea of what the dream was, that's when you start writing it down and get up. Record as much as you can, even if it doesn't make sense. Sometimes you'll get lucky and your dream is going to be super clear and you'll already know what to do. Other times, again, you'll get dreams that are vague, but they are still valuable. By taking those vague dreams, you can kind of, again, find the common threads and narrow down your request to make it better for the next night. It can be a very iterative process sometimes, but rest assured it works. Even if it doesn't go exactly right the first time, like maybe you forget your dream or your dreams are too vague to be actionable, you can just keep trying night after night. Like you're going to fall asleep again. It'll eventually work. Now, some of the dream incubation literature that I read got really hard with the details, like your request should be like this, you should word it like this, don't do these types of requests, but that's actually not usually the case in my experience. Now, I agree with, the importance of forming a very good request or a question, but even if you have a less than ideal request, your dreams are still going to help you pinpoint where you need to hone it. Pretty much every dream counts. Now, you shouldn't attach a crazy amount of value to the dreams that are super vague and use a lot of abstract symbols, but you can still see if you can glean any insight, and that's what the interpretation section of the page is for. Once you've written down your dream and you kind of figured out what the feelings were, like the important emotions and the details that stuck out to you, you can start piecing together associated images and memories and feelings that you get after having had the dream, and see if they're pointing you in any direction. The subconscious mind loves using metaphor and strange symbolism to communicate things, and appearances can be deceiving. That is especially the case for a dream. Like one of my dream symbols recently has been a school bus, and that by itself is kind of weird and abstract, but I've realized that like when you're on a school bus, you don't have any freedom or autonomy. It always goes the same route. You're always going to the same place. It's really kind of constricting and oppressive. And I realized that my dream was using this symbol of the school bus because it was reflecting my emotional state about my current reality. But having identified that issue, I go back and request my dream, so how can I feel more freedom and autonomy in my life? And then I'll get a solution, which is a lot to glean from just some dreams about a school bus. Now, there have been tons and tons of anecdotes throughout human history of the effectiveness of dream incubation. The ancient Greeks, the Romans, the Egyptians, there's a litany of modern African tribes that also still do this. And they all have these elaborate oniromancy rituals where people would go to a sacred site with a request and fall asleep and have a dream with wisdom imparted from their ancestors, or in the Greco-Roman tradition, usually was Asclepius. Dream incubation as a cultural practice has existed for millennia, and it's really kind of a shame that it's been forgotten. But for more modern and scientific examples, there are more than enough. Dmitri Mendeleev, when he was trying to come up with a way to organize the elements, he had a bunch of the element cards on his table with their properties listed, and as he was trying to piece together sort of the commonalities between them, he fell asleep and had a dream of the complete periodic table, which, I don't know, that seems pretty crazy to me. And there's also Kekule's dream, so he was tirelessly trying to figure out the molecular composition of benzene. No other chemist was able to figure out how it worked. But then, again, as he was working on it, he fell asleep and had a dream of an Ouroboros symbol, which, again, very abstract dream symbol, but upon waking up, he realized, wait a second, that's how the carbon atoms are in the chain in the benzene molecule. And again, that's another great example of a pretty abstract dream symbol actually having a very concrete and specific meaning. Now, in the books like Dream Guidance or The Committee of Sleep and The Power of Your Subconscious Mind, there are way more modern anecdotes. John Steinbeck and Thomas Edison also used some version of dream incubation to help them resolve creative problems. Now, some of these anecdotes even leave out the dream part where they just go to sleep with request and they wake up having felt the solution already. At that point, the solution exists in your subconscious, and it's only a matter of time before it surfaces to your conscious mind. So even if you forget your initial solution dream, it's not game over. That information still exists in your subconscious mind somewhere, so you can just repeat the process until you get something that's actionable. So that's basically it for the primer on this knowledge. There is so much literature on this stuff that I'm barely scraping the surface of, and it's really kind of intimidating, but it's really exciting too. I took a look at the recommended reading page for the International Association for the Study of Dreams, and it's hundreds of books long. It's crazy. So I've got a lot of catching up to do. And that's about it. Sweet dreams, I guess. And if you have any cool dreams, tell me about them in the comments if anyone actually ends up seeing this video.